y'all. I'm going to be showing you today how that you can use layer masks to blend a photo into a background. And here, this photo I have in my finished layout has been blended into the background, as well as the mat under this journaling. And you can see here in my layers palette, I'm going to show you two ways that you can do this. There are a lot of other ways to do this. I'm going to show you two ways, one with just using Photoshop Elements and the other with using Grant's Tools. The one with Grant's Tools here I have invisible, and the one that I did in Photoshop Elements utilizes these two layers. But for now I'm going to make these layers invisible, and here's my original photo layer, and I'm going to duplicate this a couple times to work with it. Make these two layers visible again. First step is to group the two layers, and then I'm also going to hold down the Control key and click on the second layer, hit the lock icon, and now that these two layers are locked together, I can move them around on the screen together. This top layer is going to be what is visible. The bottom layer is going to establish the mask, or basically what part of the top layer is going to be visible. For this layer mask, we're going to use two tools, the eraser tool and the brush tool. So I'm going to start with the eraser tool, and we're going to go up and just choose a soft brush. And I'm going to change my opacity. For the outer edges, I'm going to start with a little bit higher opacity, and I'm going to change my brush size, and then I'm just going to start going around the outside edges. There's a leg here, so I'm going to make sure it's totally gone, and just start erasing around the outside edges. And now I'm going to lower my opacity some more. I'm going to lower it way down. Of course, you'll learn how you want to use this tool. If you use a lower opacity, you can go over each area more often. With a higher opacity, you have to be careful because you're erasing quickly. Here's now going in a little further, and you can see it's blending right into the background. Now let's say I took too much of that off and I want to go back and fix it. That's where the brush comes in. It doesn't matter what your foreground color is, because this layer is not actually visible, it's just being used as a mask. And so I'm going to make sure I'm using the same brush, and I'm going to once again play with my opacity, and now you can see that I can add back in the areas. However, what I just did, and you'll notice, is add white beyond white, or which is my foreground color, the area of my photo. That is not a good thing, because that's going to be visible down there. So here's a tip to keep yourself in the lines when you're using the brush. It's not so important when you're using the eraser, but when you're using the brush and adding back into this, you would want to hold down the Control key and click to get marching ants around the photo. Now I'm going to go and reverse my selection to select the area outside, hit the delete key to delete any of that I accidentally drew in. I'm going to go back and inverse my selection again. Now I have the area inside selected, and so now I can go back and add. If you want to go back and fill it all back in, you can do edit and fill selection, with the foreground color, and now your entire picture is back. Again, you'll see it's white, all white in the layers palette. That does not matter. This is just a shape that we're using as a mask. It's not actually the photo itself. And so I can go back now with my eraser tool and begin erasing again. Of course, to get rid of that leg, I'm going to have to really use a high opacity, and you just continue erasing until you have it blended in how you like it blended in. And once again, if you want to add some back in, you can use your brush and add it back in. And you just keep playing until you get something that you find acceptable. The other method is using Grant's tools. I rarely use Grant's tools, but some people do like to use them. So I'm going to duplicate this layer, and in this case I only need to use one of the layers. I have my Grant's tools installed, and so I'm just going to click, make sure that my photo layer is the active layer, and I'm just going to click on the mask layers icon for Grant's tools, and you will see that it automatically has made a layer mask in the layers palette. This is the photo layer, the thumbnail, and this is the mask. You can select them. Right now the photo is selected, and right now the layers mask is selected. So just as before, where I had the photo on the top layer and I had the mask on the bottom layer in the first example that I gave you, this is the same effect, only it is in one layer, and you can click on both and work from both just as you did before. With the layer mask selected, for this purpose you are only going to use the brush tool, and whatever is white is going to be totally visible on the photo. Whatever is black, let me show you, I can even use the paint bucket tool on the mask, is going to be totally invisible. So I'm going to use the paint bucket and fill it all back in with white, and you'll see this turned white again, and it's all visible again. So I'm going to make my foreground color black again, and I've already got my soft brush, and just as before you can play with your opacity, and you'll see that it works just the same, except for you're not using the eraser tool. And in this case, if I want to add some back in, I'm going to change it to a white foreground color, and I can add it back in if I need to. And you can keep playing and playing with the opacity, and playing with changing it from black to white in the foreground color until you get something that's blended in. And if you have any questions, certainly ask in the forum, and I look forward to seeing your layouts that have photos blended into the background.